Hello and welcome back to the Terrace Life podcast. Before anybody gets confused, I can assure you that our regular host, Gary Devonport, has not received his marching orders from the boardroom, nor has he grown hair on the top and hair on the face, or indeed put on some timber in the last couple of weeks since we did episode 2. He couldn't make today's episode, so myself and Carl have jumped in and apologise in advance for the fact this probably won't be up to the usual standard and lacking Gary's Yorkshire charm. Episode 3, as the crux of what the Terrace is built around, being the fabled football shirt, what better thing to spend the next hour talking about other than kits and kit culture? And we're joined today by Josh, aka at the Kitsman on Twitter. Firstly, Josh, welcome to the Terrace Life podcast. How is lockdown treating you?
Thanks everyone, folks. Absolutely love the show. So I love what you do as well. Lockdown's okay. I still got a bit of a daily routine where I have to go to sort of work in the week, sort of thing. So I'm classed as a key worker. So I've got out of that. I've sort of spent last week jet washing everything I could possibly jet wash. So there's nothing left. I'm trying to find things to jet wash. I had a sort of itch on my knee the other day, and I thought, "That's a bloody jet wash." It's just a really weird time at the moment. But just using, I know it sounds like corny, but like I'm using like Twitter as sort of like a positive space, because sometimes Twitter, it can be a little bit of a nuisance, and it can be like a web of sort of people slagging each other off and whatnot, but it can be positive as well, which is what I'm trying to put forward through with my tweets and that. So it's also helping me out as well with my state of mind. So if I can sort of use football shirts as sort of like a happy medium, then I'll do that.
Have you spent the whole of lockdown rearranging your kits?
Yep. Yes, I have. I even aired some the other day.
Is that a good thing for preserving?
I aired and got a bench. Is that a good thing? It's probably not like normal, but it's good for me. I like it. I think sometimes I need to that's the thing, actually. I put out a tweet saying that some people air books, I air football shirts, and I'd literally had all my football shirts hung around my garden. So,
That's amazing. How do you? So, I mean, like, Paul and I aren't like you. We don't own hundreds of shirts. How many shirts do you own?
Yeah. So it's been sort of getting close to the 100 mark, and that's actually not that much. Like some people I've met, like they've got getting on 1,000 shirts. So my mantle of the Kitsman is not actually that good. I'm not actually shirt royalty. But to be honest with you, it's looking about 100. It will be added to in the future. I've got a few shirts on the way. Wife doesn't know too much about that, but she soon will.
And so if you've got, let's say you've got 100 shirts, how do you kind of keep them in order? Do you go by like season? Do you go by club, country? Like it's not like it's a row of books that you can just put in alphabetical order, or like I presume every kit collector has a different method of how they organise their shirts. Like we've seen on Twitter, we follow so many different kit collectors that some people kind of keep them in colour combos. Some of them will keep them in home and aways, in the Liga, Premier League. And how do you do yours?
At the moment, not well. Like there's a rail I got from IKEA, and it's sort of like it's like bowing in the middle. It's like no more shirts, please. So IKEA watching. Send us another rail. I went through a stage of thinking, you know what, let's see if I can arrange these. I had like Eredivisie, I had Bundesliga, I had sort of Serie A and I like the international section as well. And lasted all of the week, mate. I mean, I'm always wearing them. Like, I'll go out to football on a Wednesday night, and I'll just, take out Borussia from Bundesliga, and I'll make the rookie error of putting it back in the international section, and that's not allowed. So yeah, to be honest with you, like, it's just a case of just they have no order. They did, but unfortunately, it's just on the sole rail at the moment. Bless them.
See, I think if I had hundreds of shirts, I don't think I'd want to keep them in any kind of order. It's like the whole surprise element of like when you're going through them.
Yep, I know. Oh,
I think it depends though if you're going to wear them or not, because like if you're not going to wear them and I've got them like all polybagged and stored away in little storage boxes, and I'd probably have them organized. But I mean,
yeah, but you're a program collector, so you're used to keeping them in like chronological or like.
Well, to be honest, that only started like probably about 6 months ago, because I started to do stuff. You know what it's like? I mean, it's probably easy when you've got like I'd probably find it easier with shirts, but like when you, for example, at the moment, I'm trying to complete a whole season from like 1967, 1968, and I'd find myself on eBay and I'd be like, oh, cool, like Tottenham at White Hart Lane for this one, and I'd buy it. And then when I'd come to put it into the collection, I'd be like, I've already got this. So I had to put them into like date order and then print out a sheet with all the fixtures and then tick them off and do that. And to be honest, if I had that many shirts, I'd probably do that. But I mean, I literally own maybe 10 football shirts that are all in a drawer. And whenever I used to play football, I used to just pull out whichever one still fitted and go play football. But
I think them too. I'm down to one.
I think it depends though, doesn't it, on like what different people. Some people are probably just buying kits solely just to have them in a collection rather than to wear them and enjoy them, and No,
definitely. I mean, like, so Josh, do you have like, if there's like a particular club you're interested in or a particular era, do you try to collect like home and away of that club for that season, or is it a case of you're just kind of looking at shirts that catch your eye when you're browsing online and stuff?
So I don't really have many sort of kits which sort of like are from the same year, like home, away, and third. And that I think I used to have them when I was younger. I had the Newcastle, I had Black Rovers, Premier League winning, home and away. And I didn't really do third shirts back then, but I had that. And then now I just buy them based on look, sort of what they might mean me. Some of my shirts I have got sort of sentimental meaning as well. But I don't tend to get shirts really sort of, from the same sort of season. Like, I need the home, I need the away. Oh, I definitely need the third. I just don't do that.
So I mean, you've mentioned a couple of times about third kits there and stuff, and that there's not many in your collection and so on. So what do you think to fourth?
That's
shirts?
Right.
the special.
The greedy bar stewards. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I see where they're coming from. Like, because every club needs to make money. I get that. But like, when you've got PSG, who aren't they're not sort of like short of a few bob, are they? You got Bayern Munich, whose anniversary this year is amazing, by the way. I've got no qualms about sort of like, the fact that, these shirts should exist. I just feel like they're just saturating the market. Like, there's just so many of them. And now I've heard sort of like rumblings that next season there's going to be like the introduction of more fourth shirts for teams. When like 3 is enough. Some teams just not 2.
Did PSG do a shirt? Was it this season they did a shirt? Was it with Jordan?
Michael Jordan.
Yes, that's right. The black one. Mm-hmm.
So is that what would be classed as a fourth shirt?
Yeah.
It's just like a special. It's not worn. It's more of a fashion item. And
well, yeah, that one was worn when it came out. That was when that came out. That was sort of a big deal because obviously it's crossing sports as well,
Of course,
which I don't know if I really like. Like football's football, so
same
and
with me.
also it's just money at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like we use obviously Paul and I and Craig at the office. We're kind of looking at kits all day, every day. Maybe not in shirt format, but when we're printing our kit mugs and all the products we do, it's one of the best kind of things regarding making our products is that we have a request a kit feature on the mugs, and that
Yes, I've seen.
that element of the website really opens our minds to seeing kits that we would never have seen. We use a website called oldfootballshirts.co.uk. That's kind of our Bible as a business, really. They have photos of near enough what I'd consider every shirt you could ever want to see. It's all documented by club. So when we're designing new products and stuff, that's kind of our Bible of where we go to see what the kits look like actual photos of the shirts, and then we design a product based on those photos. But so let's say, for example, you go and type in Chelsea or Gillingham, any club, what you see is you kind of get a broad range of every shirt, every season. But there's so many. See, I don't think they had third shirts in the 90s. So whilst it's not a fourth shirt, it's kind of like a special shirt. But a lot of clubs started having different sponsors for like cup finals. And I think that's where the money side of shirts really comes into it. Like we obviously work with Sheffield Wednesday, and there's a shirt that they had for the FA Cup final where it just the sponsor switched to Asda. And those are the shirts that really interest me, because what it means for me is that shirt is not owned by any fans, because they wouldn't have put it on general sale. Obviously, it opens the market for counterfeiters and people making shirts and so on.
That's right.
I think when it comes down to fourth shirts, I think there's something a little bit special if it actually you can't buy it. I think a fourth shirt is more of a commemorative. The players have worn it. It's player issued to remember the day they played in said game or whatever. But I think the fourth shirt's coming into retail constantly. It's like, where does it end? One of the topics we were going to talk about was kit prices, and it kind of comes into that of when a club's releasing 4 kits, if you're looking at a shirt is 50, 60 quid a pop at the moment. For a die-hard fan that wants to own every shirt, best part of 250 quid per person in the family. What's your current kind of outlook on kit pricing?
It's just much. Just too much. Like, I understand that teams need to make money, but I mean, it's no secret that you can actually see some of the shirts, just base layers for like under a tenner if you were to buy them from sort of like like the actual team sites or the brand sites, and you slap a sponsor, you slap a badge on it, and it's massive margins for the clubs and whatnot. But that's why a lot of people hang around for the end of the season sales, because they're never going to come down. They'll probably have a decent amount of stock left, and that's what I've been doing, and that's what I've got on the way in the next few days. So it's just a bit greed. Like, I love Newcastle; they are my club, but £60 for their home shirt. It just not everyone can buy that. I mean, it's.
I remember in the 90s, being taken as a kid to football and stuff, and shirts were like, £35 for an official shirt in the club.
I remember 24.99. I remember a shirt, and probably 1990.
Yes.
293 maybe. Yeah, and it's like, how in a short space of, it's still a couple of decades, but how in such a short space of time has the price in somewhat doubled, now in some cases tripled.
Costs more for a pair of shorts now than it did for a shirt in the mid-90s.
Actually, that's a good point. Do you collect any shirts or shorts or socks, or is it just shirts you're collecting?
No, I don't collect anything else. Like, again, I put that out the other day. Like, does anybody actually collect shorts? And there's a few people that do, actually, and there's some really good ones. Really good ones.
I saw a tweet, and I don't know who it was by. I can't remember, but this person collected football socks, and they literally had a cupboard, and they opened the cupboard door,
yes,
and
there's
it
a
was
lot.
just football socks galore. But like, I never realised football socks were that different. I thought they were either like striped or rimmed, and that was it. It was just plain football socks.
Yeah, there's so many different styles of them, and it's just quite cool because I don't think you're going to finding them either. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't get a lot of people going to the sort of club stores and thinking, geez, I need to get those goddamn socks, and roll out. That's where you'd go straight away if you were a sock collector. Yeah.
So I mean, talking around the points of like pricing of shirts, and obviously we've touched upon a little bit about the financing needed for clubs, especially when they're selling shirts. There's obviously a big area at the moment, and it's talked about quite a lot, and that's gambling sponsors. What's your general consensus on? So I mean, a lot of clubs are sponsored by bookies, whether it's I won't name them, but obviously there's certain kind of gambling sites that are clearing up across kits, especially in the Championship. And I mean, the instant thing for a football fan to say is it's a terrible thing because it shouldn't be encouraging gambling. But I mean, playing devil's advocate, are there companies outside of gambling that are willing to invest that kind of money to have their logo on football shirts? I think it's a catch-22, and I wondered what your opinions were on bookmakers being on football shirts.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Massive, massive, massive money, isn't it? I mean, it's just in your face all the time, though, isn't it? I mean, you've got so many. I mean, I won't. Like I said, I won't name them, but I will name one, and that is one bookie that kind of tried to do some good, which was Paddy Power. The save our shirt, save my shirt.
Yeah.
Campaign, and that was where they were subtly, sort of. Well, this is great advertising actually, because they were advertising themselves, but they were taking their sponsor off the shirt. So you'd have sponsorless shirts. I think Huddersfield, Motherwell. Oh, there was another one as well. It's completely escaped me. But yeah, they had this thing where they were just making the shirt sponsorless, which was a great thing. I hope they do it again, sort of like next season. It's a bit cheeky, but it's a nice idea, and it came across quite well. But in terms of your question regarding sort of betting sponsors, it's just too much. I mean, would you rather have, let's say a local thing like Newcastle? I keep using Newcastle, but would you rather have Newquay Brown Ale on there, or would you rather have a betting company? I'd rather have Newquay Brown Ale every day of the week, because it means more. It's got more history. It's got more heritage.
Of course. I mean, like, when you go down that route, let's say we reach a point where there's a stop on gambling and bookmakers being on football shirts, will it then knock on to alcohol? Where do you draw the line of what can and can't be on shirts? From a club perspective, it's always going to be about money. They need money to...
Is it not already a thing with cigarettes and alcohol? Because obviously I remember the whole thing years ago about Formula One and it being banned in Formula One, because obviously at one point every single Formula One team was like bankrolled by cigarette company. Because can you actually think of an alcohol company right now that sponsors a football club?
You've got Oxford United, which is Singer.
All right.
That's Singer, isn't it?
Everton was Chang.
Yeah. You're right. I just couldn't think of any.
Carlsberg is still rife.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was going to say, are Carlsberg still sponsoring kits, or is that not a thing anymore?
Yeah, so they've got FC Copenhagen, because I think that's where Carlsberg's brewed.
It is.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And like they've got that, and that, to be fair, like that is so classy, just that font, and some of the Copenhagen shirts are just remarkable.
No, as soon as when you see a football shirt, I mean, if you see a football shirt with Carlsberg on it, for me, you instantly think of Liverpool, and I think that's where
straight away.
A lot of people kind of they ask us what the attractive point of our products are with kits on mugs and that kind of stuff, and it's not even the club badge or anything, it's the sponsor, because kits are so iconic because of the sponsors they've had. Like, out of your collection your history of looking across kits and stuff, what's the weirdest sponsor you've seen? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, go for it. Oh, I'm all about that. I'm all about thinking outside the box. Yeah, I've got some shirts. I've got some shirts here actually, so I might have what you're about to talk about. Go.
Amazing. What So I mean, like, if we go down the sponsors route, do you think there's a future for shirts without sponsors? Do you think football would benefit and kits would benefit from not having sponsors on the front of the shirts?
I think obviously like a lot of the money would go down. Obviously, it's all money related. In terms of sort of like what the aesthetics of a shirt, like how it would look without one.
Yeah, I mean, like, you use Huddersfield as the example with Paddy Power, like not having a sponsor. Is there, without speaking, we're licensed with Huddersfield, and they're a great club to work with. But is a blue and white striped shirt iconic? Is it something that you can take pride in wearing and buying as a fan and spending £50 on? Does the sponsor add the value to the shirt?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think in some cases it's, but you're right. Like blue and white stripes. I mean, you don't necessarily, it's because that's used so often. It could actually be a club, couldn't it?
I mean, stripes, and there's a lot of kits that are kind of, you talk about your Barnsleys that are typically in plain red, your Fulhams in plain white. You take the sponsors off, and do they not just become a plain white Puma, Nike, Kappa, whatever brand it is? Do they not just become a plain off-the-shelf shirt? It's weird that in kit terms we kind of rely on the sponsors to add that added touch. And I think that's where, if you go back to the 90s era, you wouldn't have needed the sponsor logos on the front because the patterns were just so intense and there was so much creativity in the shirt pattern itself. And as we progress on to this kind of era, shirts have become very plain. And I think without the sponsors, you're just going to lose any kind of iconic memory of the shirt, because a plain white shirt with a club badge on, if that was rolled out every season blurs into one. But I mean, with those kind of shirt patterns and stuff, that's where manufacturers obviously come into point. So out of all the kit manufacturers, the big question, first of all, is who's your favourite?
Well, for me, it is. I mean, people are all going to be like rolling their eyes, like, for God's sake, not again. But it's Kappa. I just think they're awesome. I do. I've got no allegiances or anything like that. I'm not endorsed by anyone or anything like that. But I just love them. I just think they're so cool. They're so edgy. They're so on point. Some of their promotional stuff is just ridiculous. Like, I've just put on a few adverts recently that they've put together for some of the shirts. Like the promotional sort of like 30-second videos that they do, and they're just amazing. Like Aston Villa this season, they did that thing where there was two fans and they were back to back, just like the logo, and they were there sort of with their knees up, sort of thing, back to back, looking edgy and cool, and loads of Villa stuff. And like, you don't really see many other brands do that, like sort of being on point with all that sort of design. And I just think it's really cool. They just keep upping the game as well, like every season. Like, I can't wait to see what we're coming out with next season, because this season was so good. I mean, this one here, let's have a look. This one here is just ridiculous. This one is a Belgian team, and it's just mad, absolutely mad. And you were saying about how clubs need to be sort of iconic and individual. I mean, you can't get much more individual than that.
No, of course. I mean, with Kappa as well, I think it was yourself that highlighted it to us. Are they not doing something with key workers at the moment as well?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're doing a promotion where they're giving you 50% off their store, and it's just by popping a sort of DM over to them with your lanyard, just a selfie, and they'll send you over a code, and they'll give you 50% off their store. And again, it's just something which I saw, which I thought I had to share because it was just so good. I mean, I just don't see anybody else doing that, and people have taken advantage of it.
When you told me about it, I was just like, yeah, we need to kind of make sure we mention that, because I think that's a really cool thing to be doing in the current climate and stuff. And you say, like, obviously you talk about the Kappa shirt,
crazy good.
like the individuality of them. I actually bought Paul a Kappa shirt a while ago. I bought him an AFC filed shirt because he's local to them. And I was actually quite surprised that the badge wasn't embroidered. It's something that
I didn't like. I really, really don't like that shirt. I think it's because I'm such a traditionalist when it comes to like football shirts, and I liked the feel of like a screen printed sponsor logo, an embroidered badge, and it genuinely felt like a cycling jersey, because it was just literally like a one piece thing where everything was sublimated. And I don't know. For me, it didn't.
Was it all sublimated? Right.
Yeah, the entire shirt was sublimated, including the. It didn't have a number on the back, did it?
No, it had sleeve sponsors though.
Yeah, it had sleeve sponsors that were the same, but every single part of it was fully sublimated, and it was. I just didn't like the feel of it, and I'm more of a sort of. I prefer the classic feel of a thick sort of. You want to feel an embroidered badge and. A sponsor logo and stuff like that.
I'm completely on board with that.
It was weird though. You could check that shirt out, because was it last season's or the seasons before? It was like
I feel as though it was season before. It's like yellow and black.
It was last season because they've got Adidas now, I think.
Yeah,
and it was a
no, they've got. I think we have.
But it was like it took inspiration from one of, I think it was Borussia Dortmund
shirt. It basically looked the same.
That's right. Didn't it have some German writing on the back or something?
It did.
It had something on the back that was kind of like a nod to the Dortmund shirt.
If I'd have known you were going to mention it, I'd have gone and got it out of the cupboard.
As well as Kappa and stuff, one of the, when me and you, Josh, have been chatting kind of, on Twitter and stuff, you've mentioned Hummel quite a lot as well. And I wanted to kind of, I know you went for a meeting with Hummel just to kind of have a chat with them and see what they do and stuff. And I think it'd be really cool for you to kind of tell us what you kind of got out of your meetings with Hummel and chats with Hummel.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. It just got sort of, it just all got put together so quickly. I won't bore you with the details, but I recently connected with a guy called Daley Robinson, who's one of the buyers for M&M Direct, and he's such a cool guy. Loves football shirts. It's his passion, and he said, "Josh, what we're going to do is, I know the guy at Hummel Mark. I'm going to put you in touch with him, and we're going to get you down there, having a look at it, getting sort of, you speaking to the designers, seeing how a football shirt's made, and it just blew my mind. So, got in my car from Little Old Lincoln, drove all the way down to Hatfield on the outskirts of London." Mate, I was so giddy. Like, I was on my sat nav thinking it's around here somewhere. That's what looks like a shirt manufacturer around here. But it was like this sort of, The Office, sort of Wernham Hog. It was kind of like stone building, and then you go up it, and then they're in like this really trendy office within it. And it's all sort of like glass part, all sort of glass and just what you would expect like a football shirt company to look like a really cool boardroom. As you walk in, you've got the mannequins with all the shirts on. You had Middlesbrough, you had Rangers. There was who else did they have? They had a couple more mannequins as well. But it was just as you walked in, you thought, right, this is the real deal. They had some rails of all their old shirts on there as well from past seasons. There was this Ibiza one, which is really, really popular, which has got the guy with the headphones on. And then we just literally got talking, and Mark was like, "Right, Josh, you know, this is who we are. This is what we do. We're really passionate about football. You know, more than you believe. You've got to meet our designers, and like got a knock on the door, and they said, right, here they are. Can you just spend some time with Josh and just show him exactly what goes into a football shirt and how you make it, what your design inspirations come from. My goodness, when I went into that room, it was just like, it's like a can shop sort of thing, and they showed me all the concepts, all the shirts that hadn't been used, some of the ones which they'd got made, and thought, no, actually, we don't quite like this. Doesn't work. This doesn't work. And I was like thinking, that doesn't work. That's incredible. How did you not sort of like go with that? And they'd be like, oh, because this and that. And sometimes the club might say we don't particularly like this on the shirt, and they were just so passionate. I mean, I found out like they spend like a week in the city of like a club that they were to sign on, and they'd like go to all the landmarks, they'd soak up all the sort of history, and then they just design the shirt, and like the quality is fantastic, and they're just such a cool company, and I just couldn't believe that I was being let in on it all.
Do you think like having that experience of actually meeting Hummel and like what goes behind a Hummel shirt, did that help you develop like a kind of like a love for their shirts, and it'll mean in the future you look out for their releases more because there's that kind of connection to you? And I guess where I'm going with it is that manufacturers have the opportunity.
Yeah, I'd say so, because it's always.
I mean, like with manufacturers, they also have an opportunity to be a connective brand with football fans. Now, whilst they can't go and invite every football fan to their offices to see how stuff's done, there's that opportunity through social media and marketing and what they do with the clubs to not just be an off-the-shelf kind of kit that a logo, a sponsor gets slapped on and a club badge gets slapped on, but they have an opportunity to really connect with fans and offer and be part of the story. It's not just for sponsors and the club badge to be part of the story. You know, Hummel, right going back, Ribeiro, your Pumas, Nikes, Matchmakers, all these kind of brands are part of a story. And I think what you've highlighted there is an opportunity for manufacturers to really kind of get across that they're not just sat in an office picking a shirt off the shelf and embroidering a badge on it. And you could see how much passion you got from that meeting in Hummel shirts, whilst Hummel don't even support the club you support.
No, they don't. I was always aware of the brand Hummel, massive. You know, made the Danish shirts, got a massive sort of partnership with them, and Hummel is well known. And let's face, you know, you say Hummel to any average football fan, and they'll reel off a couple of shirts, but they probably won't know a lot of the ones that they do. I certainly wasn't aware of how good the shirts were going to be when I went. But now I've got so much sort of admiration for what they do and what goes into it. And like you say, they're not just some sort of corporate being that just sort of sit there and embroider on. They've got so much investment, and they're football fans themselves.
Well, I think that's probably one of the most important elements of it. And moving on away from manufacturers, Paul didn't even know this was a thing until I told him yesterday.
Yeah.
Mystery football shirt boxes. I don't know huge things about them, but I've seen people on Twitter. Like there's that Ellis Away Days guy that's been doing it. And I've seen other people doing it. And you can buy these mystery football boxes off of eBay where you pay X amount and you get X amount of shirts. Are they all they're cracked up to be? Because, I mean, I see the kind of what can come out of this is that fans will see those videos, rush to eBay to buy £100 mystery box that's going to have 20 shirts in or 15 shirts in. But realistically, people aren't. I mean, I might just be thinking with a business mind on it, but no one's going to be giving you £1,000, £500, £700 worth of shirts for £100. But am I wrong? Are there like some gold mines that can be found in these mystery boxes?
in answer to your question, it's a me. Like I watch those videos and I bloody love them. Like, you know, I get a lot of enjoyment from seeing people like going, "Oh my god, look at this!" You know, and I quite like that. It's an element of sort of ooh, and but majority of them are just like, you know, Man United's shirt with like Dave on the back, or you know, like a Liverpool away shirt with like Daz on the back or something like that. I mean, I'm being very sort of stereotypical there, but like that's kind of what a lot of the shirts. Some of them are fakes as well. Some of them are literally just you know, England shirts as well. They're absolutely rife in boxes. But I think you did get a few gems. I think I've seen a few on there. But like you said, why would you give the shirts away knowingly on eBay for this amount? So yeah, I think a lot of it is just a bit of fun. You know, like they'll probably like these professional shirts that'll have a few shirts they think, oh, I can't really get rid of these. I've got like 6 of this shirt. What I'll do is I'll pop it in this bundle and sell it on eBay and that sort of thing. And that I get. But I think it's when you see like the 60 England 2014 home shirt in there, and that must send the person that's opening it insane, because then they start thinking to themselves, oh my God. I mean, beans on toast all week and month and year for this. So, yeah. But I like it. It's cool, isn't it? It's a bit of fun.
Yeah, what's Depop? Because I see that mentioned a lot in the
Depop's just a merchant. It's like eBay type. If you want to sell all of your garments, you can just put them on Depop. It's just like a merchant site.
Yeah, because I've noticed that's mentioned a lot in the kit world.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you get a lot of independent sellers on, don't you, that sort of put their personal collection on. But also, there's a few people on there that are using it in a way which is beneficial to them. So they'll probably put on something like this season's Arsenal shirt, £3 of Ozil on the back. And as soon as that happens, you know, alarm bells ring, and it's like it's probably going to be a fake, and someone will buy it unknowingly, and that's the issue. So you can DM a lot of sellers, and that's what I do. I always say, listen, where do you get that shirt from? You know, how long have you been doing this for, and that sort of thing. So I sort of use my Jack Bauer style sort of investigative tools. where are you from, Chloe?
So I mean, we're pushing towards like the end of chatting about kits and what we wanted to just kind of catch up with you on, and like have a little chat about your collection and stuff. Before we move on to some questions we've had via Twitter, I want to know what your favourite shirt you own is. I know it's such an easy question to ask, but it has to be asked from someone that collects kits.
It would have been my Roma one, which was sponsorless, which was this one here. If you can see it, Yep. So this was the 2014-15 season. Sponsorless as well. Just iconic, really. You know, Francesco Totti there. You know, Daniele De Rossi wearing it with absolute pride. Just sponsorless. Doesn't need to be anything other than what it is. It's just timeless. But I know we're sort of pressing for time and whatnot. But I really want to get this one in if I can.
Absolutely.
Is that all right?
Sure.
Yeah. So this one here, you're probably not too sure what this one is. Any guesses?
No idea.
You might know, actually.
No.
So this is Sorrento.
Ah, okay. Yeah, we've been having a little chat with them recently.
So, and this week I've met the shirt designer on the socials. His name's Al Carrere. I searched for Zeus, because Zeus make the shirt on LinkedIn. I literally followed all people that work for them, and he replies and says, hello, or ciao, he says to me. And I said, oh, I've got your shirt. It's right here. Little story behind it. And he says, yeah, I designed that one.
That's amazing.
And if I can find it, I know it's ridiculous. I went on my honeymoon to Sorrento, and I got into the town, and I saw this little boutique shop, and I thought, you know what, I've got to take the Sorrento football shirt home with me. I've got to do it. and I found this one, which anyone would think that's a Sorrento shirt. You know, it's pretty loud and proud on the front, but that's potentially Sorrento. Took it home, popped a post online, and just said, anybody got a shirt that they don't think anybody else has got? And Sorrento, just the official football club, just sort of said, Josh, that's not our shirt. You're done by a tourist trap. And someone is someone is literally like popping this crazy sort of badge on a Nike template shirt, which I can actually see that now, to be fair. I mean, look, you can see right through it, can't you?
Yeah.
And they're just selling it for like 50 euros. So he said, give me your address. His name's Michel. And he blooming sent it to me.
That's amazing.
This is the real deal.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So as you can see, it's a lot better. It really is. It's got so much quality in the fabric as well. It's so well made. And I'm really going to start talking about Zeus more, because they need to get more sort of airtime, because they're such a great brand. I feel like they're going places as well. I literally had a 4-minute chat with Emile Carrère about football shirts, the fact that he's been designing them since he was 8, and they really, really, really want to kit out more football shirts in Italy and the world as well. So, I mean, crazy stories like this, and that for me has got so much sort of history. It's got so much emotion in it, and I can always tell that story with a smile on my face. So, thank you to them for that.
It's got such a personal kind of story and touch for you now, and I think that's what the joy of kits is that everybody has their favorite kit for a reason. It's some people might like the plainest of shirts, but it could be because that's the first shirt they owned. It could be the shirt that a player threw them in the crowd. It could be any reason. But I mean, Paul's got some questions from people on Twitter that we're going to quickly fire over to you. So I'll hand you over to Paul on this bit.
Yeah.
Just before we do that, Carl, what's your favourite shirt?
What's my favourite shirt? See,
I don't think we've ever had this conversation.
My favourite shirt ever. See, I wasn't, before the Terrace, I wasn't really clued up on shirts. It's only from doing the Terrace and having to literally go over and over and over kit patterns on old football shirts to create the mugs and so on. I think I'm biased because I look at my favourite kits come from whatever looked the best on mugs. But, it's actually a recent one that we've done, and my favourite kit is that Sligo Rovers 1994 shirt. I love it. It's a
good shirt, but that's a template, isn't it? It's a match winner template.
We've done the same shirt.
Which one's that?
Is it Sligo 1994 away, but it's also Bristol Rovers 93 away?
Sligo Rovers 94, but it was also Preston away.
Preston 95 away, is it?
It was Oxford United away. It was
Bristol Rovers.
Bristol Rovers, yeah.
And someone else had it.
Template from that year, and I believe it was Match Winner.
Yeah, it was.
There it is.
Oh yeah, Match Winner.
Let's see if we can show this.
This way, there we go.
Oh yeah. Oh, that has got swag.
It's
that is what I call a head turner.
It's like Paul says, like it's just it was as crazy as it is. It's just a template shirt. It's Match Winner created it that season, and clubs up and down the country and in Europe were using it. But I get biased because when that gets printed on a mug, it looks incredible, like actually incredible. But Paul, what's your favourite shirt?
Oh, to be honest, if it comes down to like me actually wearing a shirt, I'm a real big fan of like plain template shirts. So I think there's probably 3 which all look the same. There's a Barcelona away shirt that's just black. I remember that from like the Fabregas era. It was literally just Nike in yellow, Barcelona badge. I think it was, I don't know who the sponsor was, Qatar Foundation, maybe. But then there's also, I think,
Oh yeah.
I think it's an Orlando Pirates kit from like 2015,
Oh, South Africa.
2016. It's just basically black, but it's got like a black pattern within the black shirt. And then some of my friends are going to hate this, but LAFC black and gold, like
Yes.
black and gold shirts
Yes.
just look
With
boss.
YouTube on the front, wasn't it?
Yeah. Because
So
I went to this. I went to.
This is really random, but you say about black and gold. I own very little amount of football shirts. One football shirt I do own is like Notts County, 1994 or 3 or 96. I can't remember when it is.
Nice.
The only reason I bought it is because I was looking at football shirts on eBay, and it just came up in one of the searches I was looking for. But it's black and white striped, and the sponsors on the sleeve are in gold. And I was just like, that looks so nice. And I got it for like £7 on eBay.
Amazing.
And I have no idea why I own it, but I was just like,
Jeez.
the black, white, and gold is glorious. It was so nice.
I have got a couple of.
Check that out now. You see how much that's going for.
I have got a couple of very random shirts, like Racing Club Lens from France. That's like yellow and maroon. It kind of looks like a Bradford City kit. And I've got a couple of Werder Bremen shirts because I went through a phase where like Werder Bremen were like my
they're
German
also
team.
Very nice.
But yeah, it's just
sort of like
kind of
green
weird
and
because,
orange, aren't they?
Yeah, it was. It kind of looks a bit like a pineapple. It reminds me of a pineapple, even though a pineapple is yellow. It's just because of the way that it's kind of like almost like a weird tie-dye dip. Is it called dip, where they like dip the shirt in and dip dye, whatever they call it? But no, that stuff was like cool. But I think when we talk about products that the Terrace does, like I always like the funky patterns, but I think when it comes to me actually wearing a shirt, I prefer more sort of classy, plain. I'm a very plain Jane when it comes to that kind of stuff. But if we want to move on to some questions, we've got a couple on Twitter from @oldschoolfootball, who basically asked, what was your first shirt that you bought and what was the most expensive shirt that you've purchased and why did you purchase it?
So the first one I bought was the Blackburn Rovers 94-95 shirt, Asics. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was the Premier League winning season. It wasn't. Yeah, 94-95. Yeah, so I had that one. I had Shearer on the back. I with the blue and white, and I had the black and red as well. That was the one which I had the home and away for. So yeah, really, really liked that one. So that started it off for me. And the most expensive, crikey, I actually don't spend a lot on my shirts. That's just it. I either get them from end of season sales or charity shops. Most expensive shirt. Don't know if I've got it actually here. I haven't actually got any. I can't remember because I don't really spend a lot on my shirts. I can't answer it because I don't know. They're all very much the same sort of value.
Is it because your wife's listening?
Yes. Please help me. Figure out some sort of. Need to figure out some sort of word, don't I?
So, @FootyKits on Twitter said, do you think the Premier League should adopt the MLS structure in terms of centrally controlled kits and pricing? I didn't actually know that this was even a thing.
I like that. I think it's a good idea. However, they've only got Adidas in the MLS, haven't they? Which means that they've got their whole sort of grip hold on it, which is great. But every team is literally the same. It's got those three sort of like Adidas sort of stripes there, a bit unique sort of maybe design within material or whatnot. But I think it just gives the other sort of brands no chance to even explore it. And if that was to come over here, I don't think I'd like it because I love the variety. You know, I love the fact that
think
we've got
competition is
area
good.
with Norwich. I love the fact that we've got, you know, New Balance in and stuff.
Do you
We're
think?
alive.
Do you think that it sort of, whilst obviously it cuts out a lot of options for other companies to come in, I mean, effectively that just makes it a monopoly. I mean, Carl's been to LA Galaxy, so have I, and it's, you know, you go to America to try and buy a shirt and you're paying $120 for a shirt.
Yeah, literally like $120 to buy a shirt there. It blew my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard a few people from the States say that, oh my goodness, you've got that shirt there in your Adidas UK store for like $34.99, because there's a few of those going around at the moment, these end of season sales, and still like $90 there. So I don't understand why they're sort of pricing sort of, you know, their own sort of fans out of it almost. I may be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that's how it looks.
You're definitely right. I mean, I've been in some sort of Adidas and Nike outlet stores, and they even sell sort of like Juventus shirts for like $120, and you know, Man United, Man City, Chelsea, like the prices are all super, super high. And I think that primarily with the MLS is because there's a monopoly on the shirt sales, I guess.
There is, isn't there?
Crazy.
They should sort of make it a bit more accessible, because I think they're trying to promote soccer over there, aren't they? They're trying to make it more accessible, and you know, people like to have replicas, and if it's too pricey, then what's the point?
But to be honest, I think that goes across all sports in America. I mean, I've purchased like basketball jerseys and stuff there, and you know, you're talking $100 for a basketball jersey.
Yeah, and even like
they're quite pricey, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, American football shirts, ice hockey jerseys, they're all like through the roof price. And then, I mean, when we were at LA Galaxy, we looked at the shirts and yeah, it was like $109 or something for the shirt. But if you wanted one with one of their players' names and numbers on the back that are already pre-printed off the shelf, it was like $160.
You need a loan.
Yeah, it was mental.
I've got a Beckham shirt, Beckham 23 LA Galaxy shirt. It was literally like $150.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I went there and I was on holiday and I was like, I need to go to a football game. And to be fair, I left after probably 70 minutes because it was just, it's not, it's got a lot better these days, but like the atmosphere was very like different, obviously a lot different to the UK and stuff. And, you know, going to games in Europe, but it's that back then the standard of football was definitely not good. I mean, I've seen like League Two and, you know, Vanarama National League games that were more exciting, even though obviously like players like Beckham and stuff are playing. But it's having been again since, it's improving a lot over there. And I know I've got friends who go to LA games and stuff, and that's sort of definitely improving. But just that whole, pay $160 just to get a shirt with a player's name and number on, like blows my mind, because if you're taking your kids and trying to get your kids into the sport, like, you know, buying food and stuff like that. I mean, we sometimes think that we have it rough in the UK with prices, but like it's nothing compared to what Americans have to deal with.
I know. It is.
So yeah, there's another question from Callum McFadden, which basically just asks which era had the best kits in your opinion.
90s. Football Italia, 90s. James Richardson, outside the old cafe with his newspaper and his cake, which he never ate, by the way. Did you ever see him eat that cake? Because I didn't. Nope. And he just, that style of shirt back then, you know, Sampdoria, Lazio, Juventus, Diodora, Fila, Fiorentina with the Nintendo shirt, just. Crazy. Some of the shirt designs there were just amazing. Baddie goals.
That was my.
The 90s shirts were just, it's like when I referenced earlier about when we look on that kind of shirt Bible website, it's like it kind of comes up, and because it's in season order, you see this whole change in kits through the eras on any single club you look at, and it's like 70s were just a plain shirt with a badge. 80s started to get some pinstripes. 90s just went absolutely bonkers.
Just exploded.
90s,
I know.
it went back to being plain again, and you can see such a transformation in shirts. And I tell you, you say about going back to favourite shirts, actually, one of the nicest shirts I've seen, which is really simplistic, and forgive me, I cannot remember the year, but I think it's 90s, was Northampton Town, their Lotto kits. So Lotto provided
Lotto, yeah.
and it had the Lotto logos on like the shoulder, but in like it had the Lotto kind of weird
big sort of diamond, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so nice. And like, there's manufacturers like Lotto, like you said, with Diodora, and all these manufacturers that get completely forgotten. And they were all so prominent.
Lotto's still out. No, I know what you mean.
They were just like so prominent in the 90s with like the ludicrous patterns and so on. It seems as these brands kind of became not necessarily less popular, but they faded out a little bit, and everything got left to your Nike, Adidas, Umbro, and so on. It all kind of went a little bit.
That's right.
But I'm excited now because I think, like, era-wise, I think we're about to enter a really interesting era for football kits, because you started to see kits go back again, like, you know, your Chelsea home shirt this season. You know, you look at Stevenage this season,
so good.
With you know, the mustard,
with the tomato and mustard splatter on there,
and we're starting to go back into an era where a creative design element is required to give a shirt that unique feel. And I think we're going to head slowly back towards that 90s era where shirts are going to really kind of like come out of their shells again, just to create that sell factor. But era-wise, I completely agree. Has to be the 90s. Paul, would you say the 90s?
Yes, purely. See, like, because obviously, like, the patterns were a bit mad, but like for me, that era, like, whilst there's a lot of great British kits, like my introduction to European football was Channel 4 Saturday and Sunday Gazzetta Italia. So like, I think I remember my dad rocking up one day wearing like a Parma shirt. I've got no idea where he got it from or how he came to own it in the 90s, but that shirt takes me back to like going on holiday to Spain in the early 90s and, you know, seeing knockoff Barcelona shirts in markets in Mallorca and, you know, places. So like, you know, when people talk about like football kits and the like how iconic kits are, it's like, I'm not sure if I'll ever look at like an Everton shirt from 2017 in 20 years time and think, God, remember that Everton shirt? I remember this, and this. But if I look back and see a Man United, you know, white shirt with the away shirt, you always think of that Giggs goal, that England kit. You always think of Euro 96 with the Gaza goal and the grey kit. And that's kind of the only thing that I find to be sort of sad about these whole template kits these days is that in 20 years, probably none of those kits will really be considered retro because, you know, if you have, you know, for example, a red and white striped shirt, and every season from 2012 to 2020, you've had a red and white striped shirt, which has always kind of looked the same manufacturer, different sponsor. Unless your team, well, I mean, you referenced it, I think, in one of the previous episodes we did, where unless your team won something wearing that kit, does that kit then become iconic in the future? Like, what do you remember about that kit? Or, you know, whereas now you can look back and say, like, you know, oh, the Sheffield Wednesday kit, I remember that kit because of Chris Waddle or Di Canio, or, you know, you remember these different things. Whereas nowadays, I feel as though because there's so much sort of template kits and maybe a lack of thought or a lack of inspiration in the design, it's like, you know, will we look back in 20 years on this era as being how we look back on the 90s now? Probably not, which is a shame.
No, definitely.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So let's get one more question in.
I'll go ahead then and say, if you could design your perfect kit, what would it look like? And we'll go through a few different things. So, what color would you go for, or colors?
So, yeah. Oh, crikey! Right. So it's got to be a collar. Big fan of a collar. Like a collar. So it probably be. It might be a collar like that, I'd say, or it'll probably no. I'd go for something a little bit like that, perhaps. Something a bit like that. Yeah.
And what color?
And in terms of sort of like color set, yeah. See, I'm a big fan of black shirts, so quite like a decent black shirt. So something along those lines, perhaps.
That's
Columbus Crew, that one. In it decent. It's got like its checkerboard pattern on it as well. But yeah, I'd go for something like that with black, and then maybe sort of like, I don't know, maybe like a pinstripe. Big fan of pinstripe. Maybe sort of like white pinstripe, something like that. It's hard putting me on the spot, which is what you meant to do, obviously. Yep. But I'd say something like that. Big fan of pinstripes, black, and a collar. Let's make it happen.
Would you go for a sublimated or embroidered badge?
Embroidered every day.
Has to be.
Most of the ones which I've got in a moment, like this one here, they're silicone, and they're really cool because they got loads of detail packed into it as well. I really like that, and plus they don't really come off that easy. So silicone's quite cool.
What about buttons or no buttons, or a zip, or even back to Man United in the 90s with a lace-up little thing going on?
Oh, yeah, the Ipswich 94.
Oh, we thought about that.
Yeah, toggles.
I can't. I appreciate laces, but I can't have one on my shirt. I'd go button up.
Buttons. And
just imagine like on a 3 o'clock wet rainy day, and one of them slapping you straight in the face. It's not good news.
And
you know what I mean?
A controversial point.
Yeah.
Would you allow sleeve sponsors?
Yeah, go on. No, get out. I'm in that. Flipping angry birds on my sleeve.
Are you anti like sponsor on the bottom of the back of the shirt? Because I know a lot of South American clubs have a sponsor there.
Yeah, this one has actually. It's got a sponsor on the back there. No, quite it. I don't mind it. I like a bit of a sponsor fest as long as it's got, some sort of reasoning behind it. I think Napoli have got Kimbo on the back, and that's like a coffee manufacturer, I think, from Napoli. So I'll let that go, and I quite like that.
That works then. Well, yeah, thank you very much for joining us. It's been certainly an interesting discussion. And yeah, great to hear your thoughts and opinions on the current and past kit culture.
No, cheers.
Cheers, Josh. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. I could have literally,
We could talk. We already said, I thought earlier, like, yeah, we'll do 45 minutes. And then even when, we only wrote down maybe 8 or 9 questions, but yeah, it never happened. So one day we'll do a short podcast, but that's not going to be today.
No.
Good stuff.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Thank you very much. See you later, folks.
Bye.